What's up, everyone? It's Matt Rosick, aka MVM397, with kind of a combo tutorial for you. So I posted pictures of, or one picture of the Kshatriya with decals done last night, and luckily it showed that I have these decals on upside down, as my client has pointed out to me. They should be flipped over, and I actually confirmed that by looking at my Kshatriya, which has different decals, but they are facing the other way. So I'm going to show you how to take these off, quite possibly reuse them if I don't mess them up, and then I'm going to show you how to also apply decals in the same tutorial. So it's going to be rather lengthy. So anyway, I put these on last night, water slide decals. Once I put them on, I'll show you the tutorial, but I use a microsol as my setting solution. So they're on there pretty good right now. Like, I can't scrape them off with my fingernail, but I need to get them off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the microsol and my brush, and that's off camera, you can't see it, and I'm going to just soak the decal with that setting solution. So I'm going to start with this one up here at the top, and we're going to just reactivate it. I'm going to set this up to loosen from the surface, and we're going to just drench it with the microsol because it tends to dry kind of quickly. So I just sit here and I just keep applying it. I don't know, maybe 15-20 seconds. I'm going to let it sit. And as before, if you've done decals before, you know when you put a setting solution on, the edges start to wrinkle a little bit. So once I start to see those wrinkle, I'll be able to pull the decal off. So in the past when I've done this, I've just kind of I've soaked the decal and just kind of scraped them off with my fingernail, because I have messed up decals in the past before. I'm not perfect, but I have found that if you're careful enough, you can pull it off without damaging it and reuse it. So I'm going to let that sit there for a little bit, and I really don't see the edges lifting, but we're going to let it sit for a little while. So I know this is very exciting to watch setting solutions sit there, but it's kind of what you got to do. So it's been about 20-30 seconds. I'm really not seeing the edges lift, but I'm going to see if I can start to pull it back a little bit. I can feel the edge of my fingernail, and it's starting to come up. Probably can't see it in camera, but I'm going to go in here very carefully with my tweezers, and you can see that decal lifted right off. Now I can't reuse this decal, unfortunately, because if you notice here, I've got some white specks, and that is the ink from the decal. So unfortunately I can't reuse that one, but luckily I have more of this decal. So I'm just going to go in there and just real gently scrape it with my fingernail. Just be real careful, because you don't want to scratch your paint, even though this has been clear coated and all that good stuff. So if it's not coming off, just get some more solution and wet it and just kind of scrape it off like this. Now, if that doesn't work, I resort to, like, I use some wet grit polishing cloth, and this is 10,000 grit polishing cloth. So it's really, this is not coarse enough to go through your paint, but it is just perfect enough to get the rest of those little white specks off. And I'm not putting any pressure, and they're gone. So that decal's off. So let's do the other one. And so it's going to be rather lengthy, unfortunately, so bear with me as we sit here and watch setting solution soak on a decal. So while I'm here, I'll kind of talk about the Kshatriya a little bit. So I'm in the home stretch on it. All the painting is done. I take that back. I have a few pieces I got to paint. Just a tiny, probably a dozen little pieces, like the hands and some of the vents. I still have to do the white pieces. I have to do the reverse wash on that. But once this is all top coated, I'm probably 5 or 10 hours away from being done, and then it's final assembly, which is always nerve-wracking, because that's the time that's the ultimate time to really screw your kit up, is final assembly. Alright, let's see if I can get this to come off. I need to put more setting solution on there. It's not loose yet. The trick is to get it to kind of try to get it under the surface, and if it's set well, it's going to take it a little while to soak and get underneath the surface. edge. Oh, and you can see there is that the ink stayed behind. So again, I can't use that one. Once in a while I'll get lucky and it'll come off clean and I'll be able to reuse it, but not too often. If I really sat there and soaked it and soaked it and soaked it and soaked it and tried to really get it all off, I could, but since I have other decals, I'm not too concerned about it. But if I didn't have any more of these, then I would really sit there and just really soak the crap out of it to get it out of there. So do that, dry that off, and then that decal's off. And you can see that polishing cloth, it actually makes the surface shiny. Alright, let's do the big guy, the big Kshatriya decal. Again, I'm going to sit here and soak this for a while. Just drench it on there. The nice thing about, I've never used any other setting solution other than Microsol. I know a lot of people use Mr. Softener, but I've heard that that's a little harsh. I'm putting this directly over my clear coat, right over my Indian ink panel lines, and it's not affecting any of it. So, and the Indian ink has not been sealed, even though it's a water-soluble media. Unless I go in there and start scrubbing on it, this is not going to affect them at all. So, and I know a lot of people do they'll do their paint, then they'll top coat with clear, then they'll do panel lines, and then they'll clear again, and then they'll decal, and then clear again. I don't do that. It builds up too many paint layers in my opinion, and it's not, in my opinion, not necessary to do that. So once I'm done painting, I'll clear coat with clear, I'll do my panel lines, and then I'll just go right on that same layer and do my decals, and then it's good to go. So it's just, it saves another step and an additional paint layer. I always do my best to keep the paint layers down, especially on a master grade kit where the tolerances are so tight that once you get too many layers of paint on there, it's hard to reassemble. Alright, let's see if I can pull this guy off. So just get an edge. No, oh, no, so the ink came off. So close. Only one little speck was left behind. Otherwise, I could have tried to reuse that decal. One little speck right there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's there. So I'm just going to take that with my fingernail and whisk it away. Alright, so now we're ready to reapply our decals, and hopefully I'll put them on the right way this time. Alright, so I got a pretty small frame here because I'm trying to show close up. So basically the tools you're going to need for decaling, and I've done this tutorial before, but since I'm doing a work in progress, I'll do it again. Water, just clean water. Your setting solution, like I said, I use Mr. Microsol. I've got a paper towel to the side here. I've got a clean brush, a nice sharp X-Acto knife, and of course my decals, which I have pre-cut over here. So, oh, and I also use a pair of tweezers, the kind that stay closed when you let go. So I got my Kshatriya decal right here, and I'm going to just soak it in the water. I'm going to let it sit there for a minute. Let it soak up really well. And, oops, I kicked the camera, sorry. A little shake there. And let it sit for about 30 seconds or so. You don't need to let it sit for like a minute. What you don't want to do is have your decal lift from the paper in the water. Good luck trying to catch it. Because you have to chase it around, and it's almost impossible to pick them up after they've lifted from the paper in the water. So I'm going to let this sit. And other decals behave differently. If this is a Bandai decal, I would dunk it for about 10 seconds. I would pull it out and just set it on my paper and let it sit there for about 20 seconds. But these decals are a little tougher to get off the backing paper. So I let them soak. I've noticed I have to let them soak longer. So I'll take that out, and then you can see it's loose there. Just going to dab off the extra water, and I'm going to get my piece in frame here, and let's put it on the correct direction. So it needs to go right across this area. So I'm not worried about getting it perfect yet. I'm just going to get it on the surface. Just like that. Pull the paper away. And it should kind of suck itself down. Also, you're going to need some Q-tips. I usually have 3 or 4 going because I like a wet Q-tip, so I dunk it in the water. It makes it easier to move the decal around. And so this one, I need to make sure it's nice and straight and centered. I'm using these 2 points as a reference. I'm just butting it up right against those and making sure it's centered and that it's straight. And I'm from camera you may be able to tell, but from here I can tell that it's nice and straight. Right about there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the extra water out. So I'm going to kind of hold on to this side of the decal. I'm going to get a dry Q-tip like this. I'm going to squeegee that water out. I'm going to go from the center out and get all that water out. And it'll kind of suck itself down. And then we're going to turn it around and we're going to do the other side. Just going to hold on to it. Since it's still wet, it might move, so I'm going to just hold on to it and squeegee all that water out until I don't see any bubbles. And now it's really not going to go anywhere. I'd have to re-wet this decal to get it to move. So that's in place. So let's do these top 2. And here it is. Now this is a single decal and it's on a split panel. So instead of trying to lay it on there and then cut it, what I've done, and I don't know if you can tell this in camera, I've actually cut a line right here, not through the paper, just through the decal. You may be able to see it. So I've just scored the decal. So it's still on one piece of paper, but it's now 2 decals. And again, we're just going to soak that for a minute in the water. Get nice and wet. Let it sit there. And that way I'm not trying to cut a wet decal because that's nearly impossible. And these panels, the way they are, they're not tightly together. So it's just a matter of lining them up the way I want. If I try to put the decal on there and then try to cut it wet, it wouldn't work. So this is a much easier way to do it. I'm just going to let that sit. And we're going to make sure we put this on the correct orientation. Which is this way. And we'll see if they're loose. Yep, nice and loose. Okay, I'm just going to dab it on my paper towel, get the excess water off. And we're just going to slide them into position. Again, I'm not trying to get them perfect because I'm going to move them around. Just like that. And I've already done a few, so I kind of know where I want these. I'm going to get my wet Q-tip here. And I'm going to scooch this around to where I want it. And once I get one down and squeeze it, I'll put the other. I'm just going to move this one to the side actually. I don't know what that's 666 to stand right above, right by this panel line. That's kind of like my baseline. So it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go in there and squeegee that out. And get that set in place. Oops, I moved a little bit, so move it back. See, once you squeeze that water out, it sucks itself down. They don't want to move. So if you do need to move it, I'm going to have to get my wet Q-tip back and wet it again. You can see once I wet it, it'll move around. So actually I'm going to turn it this way. And it's not quite straight. Right about there. I'm going to just hold it right here on this corner and work my way this way. You can see I'm going right over a panel line. No big deal because that setting solution will suck it into the panel line. Alright. So now that I have that where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and close the panel. Line up my panel lines. I'm going to take this, I'm going to slide this into position so it lines up with it. And it's right about there. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of green to the right of the decal. I don't want it right up against the edge there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to, again, I'm going to hold it right here by the end of the Z. I'm going to Get squeegee out the water. I'm going to go from the inside out, pulling it down. Now I have a little overlap of the decal film right there, but I'll take care of that with the microsol. Okay, so now they're in place, and now what we're going to do is we're going to set them. So I'm getting my brush again with the microsol, and we are just going to flood that decal. I'm going to flood them all. In my opinion, you can't put enough setting solution on a decal. Sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 times depending on the surface. Like this is a curved surface, and this decal actually laid down perfectly flat on it. If it was a larger decal, it might have some wrinkles in it because of the compound curves. There's no worries. You can just set it with the solution, let it dry, do it again, let it dry, do it again, let it dry, and eventually it will conform to that shape. So that film I basically just pushed down in there with my brush, and I just flooded it with decal solution, and that'll help suck it down in there so I don't see it. So we're going to flood that, and that's it. Now you just have to sit and wait. A lot of times the decals will wrinkle. These I've noticed don't wrinkle a whole lot, just a little bit. The Bandai decals tend to wrinkle a little bit more. Samuel decal wrinkles quite a bit because they're really thin. So we're just going to let this sit. We're not going to touch it, and we're just going to let it dry. And once it's all dry, you will have this, a nice decal. And you can still see the edge and everything because these haven't been top coated, but once that's top coated, it's going to look like it's painted on. So I hope that helps you. A little tutorial on how to remove a decal and how to apply decals. Thanks for watching as always. It's Matt Morozic, aka MVM397, signing off. Catch you next time.